My name is Sergeant David Peterson. Same spelled P-E-T-E-R-S-O-N. On August 11, 2012, I started out like any other day. I told my wife and my son goodbye that afternoon as I headed to work. I actually planned on heading home a little early that night to do a routine chore at home the next morning. And about 20 minutes later, or 20 minutes prior to the trespassing call coming out, my wife sent me a text asking if I would be coming home early that night. I or she will never forget the response that I texted. It said, as long as the world doesn't end in Benton County. And little did I know that it did practically for many people. It's nearly impossible to put into words how the deliberate, selfish, and outright monstrous act of this defendant did, how it did irreparably damage my life, my family's lives, my friends' lives, my coworkers' lives. But first, let's be clear. He had every single opportunity to simply end the incident and no one would have been hurt. First, he could have pulled over when we initially tried to stop him. Second, he could have stopped when he lost control of the car. Instead, he ran into the woods. Third, he could have left the gun in the car. Instead, he took it with him. Fourth, while he was hiding in the brush for nearly an hour, I used a loudspeaker at least 3 or 4 times telling him to come out with his hands up. He could have merely walked out of the brush at any time and it would have ended. But he chose to stay. Fifth, when the canine and the tracking team found him in the brush and told him to stop, he could have given up, but he chose to hold on to the gun and run towards Deputy Goller, Corporal Connolly, and myself. And sixth, when he got near us, I attempted to use the taser, but it failed. At that point, he could have again stopped, given up, but he chose to fire his gun. And he turned and tried to fire at another deputy. And then Deputy Goller and I returned fire. After multiple opportunities and a lot of times, he deliberately chose these actions and needs to be held accountable for them. And after the gunfire had stopped and he had been shot, the pain was so overwhelming, excruciating, and intense that I could barely talk, open my eyes, or even move my arms. But the memory of that night, including the entire ambulance ride to the hospital, is and will forever be branded into my memory. It is only because of the first aid provided to me on the scene by my fellow deputies and officers, the aid by the medics, and the expert care of the surgeons at the hospital that I am here today. Apparently I lost so much blood that I had to be revived during the surgery. I knew it was serious when a doctor later told me that I basically came the closest to dying as possible, but not. Physically, I will have scars and conditions I will carry with me the rest of my life. I was shot once in the left shin, once below the left knee, and once in the lower abdomen. I will forever have bullet fragments in my body, and some of my injuries included, but were not limited to a lacerated bladder, a detached ureter, perforated intestine, minor broken bones, and nerve damage that included intense pain, and a foot drop with numbness. While in the hospital for 5.5 weeks, I had 2 major surgeries, 4 surgical procedures, and a large intestinal infection. I also experienced excruciating nerve pain in my left foot for several months and had to use a walker and a cane. The nerve pain would last for hours in the evening, nearly every single day for about 2 months. In addition, I lost 30 pounds and attended physical therapy for nearly 8 months. I currently have a blood clot in my leg, and there is a possibility that I may never be able to return to the work and the people that I love. That is one of the things I'm having the most difficult time trying to process. But the physical scars and agonizing recovery process to me pales in comparison to what his actions have done to my family. Picture. This photograph was taken about 13 hours after the shooting by another deputy. I'm in the ICU, I'm in a coma. I have been, had an incision, as the doctor stated, and intubated and basically handcuffed to bed because apparently I kept trying to pull that out of my mouth. My wife's arm at the scene. My son, my 6-year-old son, nearly lost his father, my wife, her husband, my siblings, their brother, and my parents, their son. What? He was thinking of no one but himself. My son went from picking up football equipment a few days before the shooting and getting ready to participate in his first Pop Warner football practice to seeing me in the hospital bed several weeks later, hooked up to all sorts of tubes and machines. And it's not fair for a child to have to experience that. My wife had a knock on her door in the middle of the night and was told I had been shot. And rushed to the hospital only to see me being hurried to the operating room from the emergency room. I was pale white, and she later told me that she thought at that moment that I was probably dead. While in surgery, the hospital ran out of blood, and she had to see other officers bringing blood in boxes from other hospitals to the operating room. She spent the rest of the night surrounded by my family, my friends, and coworkers, plagued with 1,000 different questions. Since that night, this has been every bit as hard on her as it has been on me. She spent every single night in the hospital and nearly every single minute with me. She had to use all of her vacation and sick time, and now we're unable to spend vacations together this summer as a family. The impact of this incident is something my family, my friends, and I will carry with us emotionally, physically, and mentally the rest of our lives, and it does not end today. I respectfully ask that you do not let this defendant serve one less day than he deserves. He isn't someone who made a simple mistake. He is the antithesis to what our system of law and justice and order stands for. If there ever was a type of crime that a defendant deserved the maximum penalty, it is this one. If there ever was a criminal who deserved the maximum penalty, it is this one. If there ever was a time to show the community that criminals who try to murder law enforcement officers deserve to receive the maximum penalty, it is now. I respectfully ask you to sentence him to a full and maximum sentence, including not allowing him to serve one day of the sentence concurrently. He doesn't deserve to experience an extra minute of freedom, the same freedom that he intentionally, knowingly, and purposely tried to take permanently from myself, Corporal Connolly, and our families.
Your Honor, Mr. Spears would like to address the court.